We are going to begin with the concept of rape culture. In a rape culture, people are surrounded with images, languages, laws, and everyday phenomena that validate and perpetuate rape. Rape culture includes jokes, TV shows, music, advertising, legal jargon, laws, words, and imagery that make sexual and relationship violence seem so normal that people believe rape is inevitable or normalized. Rather than viewing the culture of rape as a problem to change, people in a rape culture think about the persistence of rape as just the way things are. In a rape culture, people tend to blame the survivor or victim rather than focus on the offender's actions or examine the social forces that support rape culture, like inequity. Recently, we have seen the effects of rape culture play out in the national media, and it has had an impact on society through the Me Too and Time's Up movements, blog posts, and independent articles in fields as diverse as Hollywood, Washington, D.C., business and tech sectors, and academia. When you see something happening, whether it's a joke being said or a concerning interaction between individuals, how can you step up? What can we do as a community to ensure we have a culture that doesn't tolerate this behavior? We want all of you to see yourselves as part of the solution. It's on all of us as a community to address this issue. You can do this by being an active bystander. Bystanders are not necessarily directly involved in the situation, but have the choice on whether to intervene, speak up, or do something about a concerning situation. They are present and are potentially in a position to discourage, prevent, or interrupt an incident through the 4Ds approach of direct, distract, delegate, and delay. We are not asking anyone to put themselves in harm's way, but we are asking you to be engaged bystanders and take responsibility as members of a community committed to the safety of the community. There is no wrong way to respond, and a variety of factors go into why we choose one strategy over another. But the ideal is that we feel like we have a shared goal and the power to disrupt rape culture.
The University of Chicago is a community of scholars dedicated to research, academic excellence, and the pursuit and cultivation of learning. Members of the university community cannot thrive unless each is accepted as an autonomous individual and is treated without regard to characteristics irrelevant to the participation in the life of the university. One form of gender-based misconduct, sexual assault, has shined a national spotlight on issues of consent, institutional responses, the role of alcohol, and the inadequacy of our legal system. But there are other forms. Gender-based misconduct actually refers to multiple forms of gender-based discrimination, including sexual assault, sexual harassment, stalking, dating violence, and domestic or intimate partner violence. These are not condoned or tolerated at the University of Chicago. Despite that, we know these incidents are happening. The Justice Department reports that 1 in 5 college-age women will experience a completed or attempted sexual assault during her time in college. 6% of college men will experience an attempted or completed sexual assault. 9 in 10 victims of sexual assault knew their assailant. 13% of college women report being stalked. And rates of sexual assault are highest among undergraduate females and transgender, genderqueer, questioning, or nonconforming students. This is a major and significant issue affecting college campuses, including the University of Chicago.
Sexual misconduct is a problem, not just nationally, but also within university communities and here at UChicago. Some of the ways we address this problem is through Title IX compliance and university policies. Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972 is a federal law intended to end sex discrimination in all areas of education. Title IX tells us that once a school has notice of an incident of sexual harassment or sexual misconduct, the school must do 3 things in a prompt and equitable way. We must first stop the behavior, second, prevent the reoccurrence, and third, remedy the effects. To help us address these concerns on campus, UChicago has in place a university policy on harassment, discrimination, and sexual misconduct to assist us in setting expectations and communicating consequences should violations of this policy occur. There are 4 key components we want you to be aware of with regards to this policy. The policy is applicable to all students within our campus community, as well as faculty, staff, and other academic appointees. The student disciplinary process, which will be discussed in a bit for alleged violations of this specific policy, is a centralized, university-wide process for all students. There's also a separate disciplinary process for faculty, staff, postdocs, and other academic appointees. The policy holds that UChicago has jurisdiction in both on-campus and off-campus matters where potential violations may have taken place. There's also no statute of limitations for cases that can be brought forth to the university disciplinary process to review for potential violations of the policy. The policy itself is written in a way that is both gender and sexual orientation neutral. The university policy on harassment, discrimination, and sexual misconduct can be thought of like a funnel. Discrimination is the broadest term and category and is any time somebody is treated differently on the basis of a protected class, like race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, national or ethnic origin, etc. Moving down the funnel, unlawful harassment is a form of discrimination focusing on specific verbal or physical conduct or conduct using technology that is so severe or pervasive that it unreasonably interferes with an individual's ability to work, learn, or live, or that creates an intimidating or hostile work or educational environment. Moving farther down the funnel, we have sexual misconduct, which under our policy means sexual harassment, dating violence, domestic violence, stalking, and sexual assault, and is governed by the Title IX framework.
One of the key elements of the policy is the focus on consent. We have included a handout for you with regards to what consent is and what consent is not. Consent has been defined by our institution and included in the policy, and this is what we expect. Consent has 4 components: ongoing, clear, active, and willing. That is, it's a voluntary agreement to move forward with a specific sexual request or act when the individual is in a state of mind to provide that agreement. Any sexual activity with a person without their consent is against UChicago's policies and the law, and is not tolerated here. Consent is not forced, discriminatory, ambiguous, or forever. The absence of no or stop should never be interpreted as yes if consent is otherwise unclear. The type or lack of clothing someone is wearing does not constitute consent. Because consent is ongoing, just because someone has had sex with you before doesn't mean you can have sex with them whenever you want without first getting their consent, and this includes individuals in long-term partnerships. Consent can be withdrawn or modified at any time, and when that occurs, all sexual activity must cease. Remember that even when you have consent for one kind of sexual activity, it does not mean you automatically have consent for other kinds of sexual activity. Consent needs to be a clear agreement communicated by words or actions. Things like saying yes, nodding yes, or pulling someone closer may be signs of consent when a person is in a state of mind to provide consent. A person cannot give consent no matter what they may say if they are incapacitated, semi-conscious, or unconscious as a result of alcohol or drugs. It is the responsibility of the individual initiating the sexual activity to get consent from the other person prior to initiating any sexual activity.
Should something happen to you or a friend, we want to ensure you know where to turn for help in reporting the incident, as well as for help receiving support and resources on and off campus. Students can always contact UCPD by dialing 123 from any campus phone or by calling 773-702-8181. You should always call 911 in the case of an emergency. Students have several options when they wish to report incidents of sexual misconduct. These resources are available to all students. First, we have individuals on campus called confidential resources who are not allowed to report information they receive to anyone else without the student's consent. One such confidential resource are the Sexual Assault Deans on Call, who can be contacted at 773-834-HELP. Sexual Assault Deans on Call, or SADOCs, are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. SADOCs are available to answer any general or personal questions related to sexual misconduct. Students can also reach out to one of the campus's ordained religious advisors in spiritual life, to student health services, or to student counseling services for confidential support. The student counseling service has a staff member on call 24/7 and also has a confidential advisor on staff who receives 40 hours of specialized training on sexual violence. Outside of these 4 areas, all other faculty and staff, including some student staff like your RAs and orientation leaders, are considered responsible employees. Responsible employees cannot guarantee confidentiality, but they can promise privacy, meaning that they will only disclose your situation to those individuals who absolutely need to know in order to best support you. Responsible employees must alert the Title IX coordinator when an incident has been disclosed to them, so the Title IX can reach out to that student to provide them support and resources. When the Title IX coordinator receives a report of an incident of sexual misconduct from a responsible employee or directly from a student involved, they will reach out to the student reporting via email and will send that student a one-page information sheet, which can be found in your folders. The Title IX coordinator offers support, resources, and additional information to students. Their goal is to ensure that students have the information and support available so that they can review their situation in their own time, at their own pace, and can make an informed decision for themselves in how to move forward. The Title IX coordinator does not compel students to meet with them, but they are always available and happy to speak in person. It's very important to note that receiving support and resources from Title IX does not mean that a student has to go through the disciplinary process if that's not something they want to do. Title IX and the disciplinary process are two distinct and separate processes, and just because a student accesses support systems under one area, that does not mean there will be an automatic referral to the disciplinary process. If a student does want to initiate the disciplinary process, they would meet with the Associate Dean of Students in the university for disciplinary affairs. The Associate Dean of Students' role is to help guide students through the investigation and resolution process, to ensure fairness and equity for both parties, and to provide training to the university-wide disciplinary committee. Information about the disciplinary process, including annual statistics, can be seen online at umatter.uchicago.edu. Students who have reported sexual misconduct have the right to request protective measures and reasonable accommodations from the Title IX coordinators. These measures are including, but not limited to, changes to academic, living, dining, working, or transportation situations, obtaining and enforcing a university-issued no-contact directive, assistance in obtaining an order of protection or no-contact order in state court, medical assistance, including information on preserving evidence, legal or law enforcement options, including assistance with notifying local law enforcement, safety planning, on and off-campus referrals and resources, assistance with accessing and navigating campus and local health and mental health services, counseling, and advocacy. A student does not need to participate in the university's disciplinary process to request support services or accommodations under Title IX, and such requests are evaluated by the Title IX coordinators on a case-by-case basis.